The filming of The Chosen Season 6 has officially entered its most difficult chapter, one that fans have anticipated with equal parts dread and reverence. We've now seen early images from the Scourging scene. Jonathan Roumie, who plays Jesus, is draped in a purple robe, his face marked with artificial blood, his head crowned with thorns. But what truly stands out isn't just the visual, it's the haunting feeling these behind-the-scenes moments leave behind. One image in particular shows tiny red stains, just flecks of blood on the fabric of the robe, likely from early takes of the whipping. It's subtle, quiet, but it says more than words ever could. This is not theatrical drama. This is agony being recreated by people who know the weight of the story they're telling. And that's what makes it so hard to bear. Fans may remember that Dallas Jenkins and the team have been unusually silent about these scenes. Unlike past seasons, there's a deliberate effort to hold back footage, especially of the crucifixion itself. They're hiding it not because it's unfinished, but because they know how devastating it will be. And honestly, that decision alone speaks volumes. Still, some things are leaking through bits and pieces. A glimpse here, a frame there, and with every new image, one truth becomes more and more impossible to ignore. This is going to be the most emotional, good season of The Chosen yet. The scourging of Jesus has always been one of the hardest moments in any gospel adaptation. But what makes The Chosen different is the level of emotional intimacy it builds. We don't just know Jesus, we've grown with him. We've watched him laugh, rust, struggle, lead, and weep. Now, seeing him humiliated, hurt, and prepared for execution feels personal in a way we weren't expecting. In one of the images, the lighting is cold and dim, and the makeup team has added subtle bruising to Jonathan's back and shoulders. The wounds aren't overdone, but they're enough to make you flinch. The show isn't trying to shock us. It's trying to show us just how human Jesus really was. And the more human he becomes, the harder it is to see him suffer. Then there's the weight of the moment itself. The Roman soldiers will soon mock him. He'll be spit on, struck, dragged through the streets. But even now, in these early glimpses, you can feel the air around the crucifixion tightening. This isn't just a story anymore, it's a storm, and we're watching it gather force. The cast and crew have even asked for prayers. Think about that. These are seasoned professionals, actors, and filmmakers who've done emotional scenes before. But they're asking for strength. Why? Because this isn't just about getting the performance right, it's about carrying the spiritual weight of what it means to portray the moment Jesus gave everything. And let's not forget the background actors. In recent days, production has moved to outdoor fields where mass crucifixions were staged. Dozens of actors stood on crosses in freezing, whether without coats or protection. Some had to carry the wood for their crosses across long distances. These aren't just props, they're heavy. Real weight, real exhaustion. It's symbolic in every way. The physical burden mirrors the emotional one. And suddenly we're reminded that this show is not just entertainment, it's an offering. One behind-the-scenes witness said they saw actors crying between takes. Not from pain, but from the sheer gravity of what they were part of. And maybe that's why these glimpses hit so hard. Because this isn't acting anymore. It's testimony. In the next section, we'll break down the chilling silence around Jonathan Roumie's crucifixion scenes and what it might mean for the final emotional blow of the series. We'll also explore how Peter and Judas's final confrontation is being filmed and why that conversation might be the most powerful in the entire show. Stay with me because this is just the beginning. There's something strange about the way the Chosen team is handling Jonathan Roumie's crucifixion. Scenes and that silence speaks louder than any trailer ever could. For a show that's been so open with fans, sharing bloopers, live streams behind the scenes, laughs, and updates, the sudden decision to go quiet around these final moments is no accident. It's intentional, and that tells us everything. Fans who were on set as background actors have confirmed that Jonathan wasn't seen during any of the recent crucifixion shoots. They filmed scenes with other characters, even used stand-ins for distant shots of men on crosses, but Jonathan himself was missing. That's either because they haven't filmed those specific moments yet, or because Dallas is hiding them so deeply that even fans on the ground can't get close. And if you ask me, it's the second one. They're protecting him. They're protecting us. Because once we see Jesus on the cross, there's no going back. It's not just the climax of Season 6, it's the moment that breaks everything we've held on to from the beginning. Remember, this isn't just a crucifixion. It's his crucifixion. And in The Chosen, that doesn't just mean blood and nails. It means betrayal, heartbreak, silence, confusion. It means Peter falling apart, Mary collapsing in grief, Judas destroyed by his own decision. These aren't just plot points. They're people we've come to love. And when they crack, we'll feel every single fracture with them. The images we have already are just a warning sign of the storm coming. A blurry photo of Jesus in the purple robe, a shot of blood smeared across his hands, a hooded Peter walking through a crowd, trying to hide, maybe already on the verge of his famous denial. These aren't just scenes. They're wounds. And Dallas Jenkins is opening them slowly, one by one, letting us feel the sting before he takes the blade any deeper. What's even more haunting is that this silence around Jonathan's scenes mirrors what Scripture tells us about Jesus' final hours. After his arrest, everything goes quiet. His friends scatter. He's passed from house to house, Caiaphas to Pilate, back again beaten in the dark, mocked behind doors no one could enter. We don't get details in the Gospels about how the disciples felt watching it all unfold. And maybe that's why this season will hurt so much. Because now, for the first time, we're going to see their grief, their helplessness, their guilt, and we'll see it all unfold through characters we've come to understand not just as apostles, but as broken, loyal, terrified men. Men like Peter, men like Judas. And that brings us to one of the most intense upcoming moments. Peter's final conversation with Judas. We've seen a photo from that scene, and it's already impossible to shake. Judas looks hollowed out. The regret is clear in his face, the kind of regret that sinks deep and doesn't let go. What's unclear, though, is Peter's reaction. And that's where the suspense grows. Scripture tells us little about what happened after the betrayal. We know Judas is filled with remorse. We know Peter is ashamed of his denial. But what happens when those two men come face to face? What does a betrayer say to the man who swore he'd die for Jesus, only to fail in the worst possible way? Do they scream? Do they break down? Do they mourn together or explode in rage? That emotional unknown is what makes this scene one of the most highly anticipated in the entire series. We already know The Chosen doesn't shy away from hard conversations. But this might be the most raw, the most personal, the most painful moment of them all. And don't forget, this conversation happens while Jesus is being tortured. The timing of it all adds a layer of unbearable tension. While the world falls apart outside, and Jesus is passed from ruler to ruler, mocked, stripped, and beaten, the disciples are left to sort through their own mess. Guilt, anger, fear, love. We often imagine these scenes as chaos, as noise, but what The Chosen shows us is that sometimes the silence is worse. The silence between words, the pause between tears, that's where the heartbreak lives. And that's exactly where Season 6 is taking us. In the next section, we'll go deeper into the rooftop scenes with Peter and John, the eerie gatherings of the Pharisees, and the emotional collapse of the disciples as Jesus is dragged away. What we're seeing in these behind-the-scenes images is just the beginning, and the weight is only getting heavier. One of the most haunting details emerging from the behind-the-scenes photos is the rooftop scene between Peter and John. The lighting is dark, almost suffocating, and the setting feels tense, like something is about to snap. We don't hear their words, but we can see everything in their faces. The exhaustion, the fear, the desperation to understand what's happening. To the man they gave up everything to follow. And the truth is, they're running out of time. Jesus has already been arrested. They know the tide is turning. Every whisper in the streets, every flicker of torchlight, every distant shout could mean he's being dragged to another trial, another beating, another blow. And now, standing high above the city where their friend is being brutalized, Peter and John are just watching, and realizing there's nothing they can do. It's that helplessness that makes this moment unbearable. Not just for them, but for us too. The pain of these scenes is not in the violence, it's in the waiting. It's in the silence between each terrible event, where the disciples are forced to relive their worst fears over and over again. They are no longer the confident men we met in earlier seasons. They are broken, scattered, in hiding. And yet, in this rooftop moment, Peter is still searching for answers, for direction, for courage. We can almost feel him wrestling with his next steps. Should he go down and try to stop it? Should he risk his life to be near Jesus? Or should he run just like Judas did? That inner war is tearing him apart, and we're going to see every second of it. And John, he's already beginning to understand what's coming. He's younger, but somehow wiser in this moment. He knows they're approaching the end, and the grief is already written across his face. At the same time, other images show a group of Pharisees gathering in secret. Their faces look smug, confident. They believe they've won. But what's chilling isn't their arrogance, it's the emptiness behind it. These are men who spent their lives studying the scriptures, waiting for the Messiah. And now that he's here, now that he's standing before them in chains, they can't see the truth. Or worse, they can, and they just don't care. That spiritual blindness is terrifying, because in their victory, they're actually sealing their own fate. And as viewers, we're forced to watch it unfold in real time, knowing how wrong they are, but unable to stop them. That's the emotional twist The Chosen does so well. It lets us see both sides of the story, and it never gives us the comfort of easy answers. BNIL, another powerful image, shows Peter in a crowd of people, his face covered by a black hood. It's subtle, but the fear in his posture is unmistakable. He's hiding. He doesn't want to be recognized. And for good reason at this point in the story, people are already starting to turn on Jesus. The same crowds that once cheered for him are beginning to whisper against him, and Peter knows his loyalty could get him killed. But there's something else in that image, too. A shadow of shame. Because even though he's there, even though he's watching, he's not stepping forward. He's afraid. And we know what's coming next. The denial, the heartbreak, the moment. He turns his back on the one person who never turned his back on him. These small glimpses from rooftops to crowds, from whispered conversations to moments of silence, are beginning to paint a picture of total emotional collapse. The disciples aren't just losing Jesus, they're losing their faith, their courage, their understanding of everything they thought they knew. And that collapse is unfolding right in front of us, one scene at a time. It's not just powerful, it's devastating. Because we know where this is going. We've read the ending. But nothing prepares you for seeing it happen to people you've come to love, people you've laughed with, cried with. That's what makes this season so different. The heartbreak isn't just about Jesus, it's about everyone around him, and the way his suffering changes them forever. And the more we see, the heavier it gets. These aren't just characters anymore. They're reflections of us, our fear, our doubt, our grief, our hope. And as we move closer to the crucifixion, that reflection is only going to grow sharper. In the next section, we'll break down the mystery of Matthias the Apostle, his eerie appearance alongside Big James, and the question that's haunting every fan right now: who else is watching Jesus suffer in secret? And why? Among the most mysterious developments in Season 6 is the quiet emergence of Matthias the Apostle, the so-called Watcher from earlier seasons, who now appears to be moving from the shadows into the core of the story. It was easy to miss him before, lingering in the background with a look of silent intensity. But now, he's no longer just observing. He's present. In a behind-the-scenes clip, we see Matthias standing beside Big James, both of them looking down from a rooftop or hidden vantage point. Their posture is tense, their faces unreadable, but something about the scene feels ominous, as if they're witnessing something they were never meant to see. Are they spying on the Sanhedrin? Watching Jesus being beaten in private? Or trying to locate Joseph of Arimathea or Nicodemus for help? The scene refuses to give up its secrets, and that's what makes it so chilling. We don't know what they see. We only know that whatever it is, it has frozen them in place. This subtle inclusion of Matthias brings a sense of suspense that adds another layer to the already spiraling emotional chaos. In the book of Acts, Matthias is chosen to replace Judas. But here, in The Chosen, we're watching him live through the collapse of Judas' faith and the devastation that follows. It's almost poetic. As Judas descends into guilt and ultimately death, Matthias ascends into purpose and legacy. But we're not there yet. Right now, in this dark and painful moment of Season 6, Matthias is still watching from the edge. Not yet part of the inner circle, but clearly being pulled toward the center. And the question is, why? Why now? Why him? Maybe it's because he represents what comes after the death. Maybe he's the quiet symbol of hope that's still hiding in the ruins. Or maybe his presence is simply there to remind us that not everyone turned away. Some stayed, some watched. Some refused to look away, no matter how painful it became. At the same time, the disciples are falling apart. The weight of Jesus' arrest, the brutality of the scourging, the utter silence of the crowd, it's all becoming too much. And that tension is now seeping into every moment we see in production. Take, for instance, the scene where multiple background actors are shown carrying large wooden beams, their own crosses. These aren't just symbolic shots, they're physical representations of what's about to happen, of what has to happen. These scenes are heavy, not just because of the emotion, but because of the actual burden these actors are carrying. Filmed in bitter cold, the crew even asked fans to pray for them, revealing just how emotionally and physically exhausting this work is. That speaks volumes. These aren't just actors playing a part. They're people stepping into the pain of history, trying to do justice to a story that has broken hearts for 2,000 years. What makes all of this even more emotionally charged is that we haven't even seen Jesus crucified yet. We've only seen fragments, clues, moments of foreshadowing. But still, it's already almost too much to bear. In one particularly jarring image, Jesus is shown wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. His face is streaked with blood, his hands look swollen and bruised, and while the image itself is blurry, likely taken without permission, it still hits like a punch to the chest. Not because of the gore, but because of the look in his eyes. It's not fear. It's not even pain. It's something deeper. Something that makes you pause, breathe in, and hold that breath because you know you're witnessing something sacred. Something irreversible. And maybe that's why so many fans have said they couldn't stop crying the moment they saw it. We're witnessing the unraveling of everything the disciples thought they knew. We're watching Judas fall, Peter hide, John grieve, and in the middle of it all, Matthias is standing silently, waiting. Maybe he doesn't even know what he's waiting for. Maybe none of them do, because this is the darkest hour. And the chosen is not rushing through it. It's lingering. It's letting us feel every ounce of the dread, the silence, the despair. Every scene is soaked in tension. Every character looks like they're walking on the edge of a cliff, blindfolded, not knowing if they'll fall or find faith on the other side. And for us as viewers, that's what makes it so powerful. Because we're not just watching, we're being asked to carry the weight of it all. In the next and final section, we'll focus on Jonathan Roumie himself, his spiritual preparation, the haunting silence around his filming schedule, and why this role may cost him more than any performance he's ever given. If the crucifixion is coming soon, and all signs say it is, then we're about to witness the most devastating and transformative moment in the entire series. Prepare yourself. The hardest part is still ahead. Everything in the Chosen season 6 is building toward one final, unbearable moment, the crucifixion. And at the very center of it is Jonathan Roumie. The silence surrounding his performance in these final scenes is no coincidence. It's calculated, guarded, almost sacred. While cast members and behind-the-scenes extras have been spotted throughout the filming of major events like the Scourging, the rooftop conversations, the mass crucifixions, Jonathan has been absent. He hasn't been seen on set during any of the recent crowd scenes. No leaked photos, no distant glimpses, no whispers of his presence. And that silence is thunderous, because it means they're saving something, hiding something, protecting something. What we're about to witness is not just a dramatic performance. It's a portrayal of the single most painful and transformative moment in human history, and the actor who carries it knows it will change everything. In his last public interview, Jonathan hinted at the storm that's coming. He spoke quietly, reflecting on the mental and emotional preparation required to embody Jesus in his final hours. He mentioned fasting, weight loss, isolation, prayer. But even more than the physical toll, it's the emotional burden that stands out. This isn't just a role, it's a surrender. Jonathan understands the gravity of what he's about to do, and it's clear that Jenkins and the production team are giving him the space and the silence. He needs to carry that weight. Because when the cameras start rolling on that hill, when the sky goes dark, and the nails are driven in, it has to be real. Not in gore or shock value, but in spirit, in silence, in tears, and most of all, in truth. This is the scene that will define not only season 6, but the entire journey of the Chosen so far. Think about it. We've followed Jesus from his first quiet miracles to massive public teachings. We've seen him through moments of laughter, of anger, of grief, of divine power. But now, that same Jesus is being handed over to death, and we, like the disciples, are powerless to stop it. The betrayal has happened. The denial is coming. The scourging is underway. And the cross waits just around the corner. Every scene so far has been a slow unraveling, a peeling back of all the comfort and security we once felt. And soon, we'll be left with nothing but a broken man hanging on a cross and the unbearable silence that follows. That's why they're hiding Jonathan, because what he's about to do can't be previewed, can't be spoiled, can't be leaked. It has to be experienced in full, with trembling hands and tear-filled eyes. And what happens after? The show might continue. The story will go on. But we will not be the same. Viewers are already bracing for impact, leaving comments like, "I don't think I'll survive this season," and "just the photos are enough to break me." Because we all know what's coming. And yet, somehow, we're still not ready. That's the brilliance and heartbreak of The Chosen. It brings us into the story slowly, gently, and then, just when we've let our guard down, it shows us the cost. The true, unimaginable cost of love, of sacrifice, of salvation. And for Jonathan Roumie, carrying that burden in front of the world may be the most spiritually demanding thing he's ever done. Don't. So if you've been following the journey, preparing your heart, and wondering why this season feels different, because it is, The Chosen Season 6 is not just another chapter. It's the crucifixion. It's the weight of sin, the collapse of hope, and the beginning of something we cannot yet see. And when Jonathan finally steps into that role, with the crown, the nails, and the silence, we won't be watching a performance. We'll be witnessing a moment so holy, so human, and so heavy that we may never forget it. Because The Chosen isn't just telling the story anymore, it's inviting us to feel it. Every painful, beautiful, unforgettable second of it.